Hello, and welcome to another Wheel of Time video. It's been a minute. I'm still riding high from the casting announcement, but today I figured I would get back to the roots of my Wheel of Time love here on the channel and just do a Wheel of Time general video. And for this one, I'll be doing one I've been requested to do or redo if you saw it before it was deleted. My top 10 Wheel of Time moments. Yes, this is one I'm super excited to do because I've attempted it before and I just wasn't happy with the end result, and I'm still totally expecting people to point out moments within the Wheel of Time that I just completely forgot about, and if that's the case, it's okay. Just go ahead and leave me your top 10 in the comments down below. And obviously, it shouldn't need to be said, but I'm gonna have to say it because someone will complain if I don't. Spoiler warning! Duh! All the way to the end of Memory of Light, the final book in the Wheel of Time. We're literally about to start talking for spoilers of book 5 here, so if you have not already finished the series, click off the video, or if you just don't care about spoilers, feel free to ride it out with me, because we're going to go ahead and jump in to number 10. But for me, number 10 is Moraine saving everyone from Lanfear at the docks. There's just an innate coolness to Moraine's handling of this very situation in itself. I love the idea of Moraine just dive tackling Lanfear through a doorway. That's pretty hilarious. But on top of just the zany, oh, it subverts your expectations fairly well because it's not using channeling, it's physically dive tackling one of the actual Forsaken, which is hilarious. It then settles on the reader that Moraine is gone. She is no longer there to watch out for our Emond's Field 5. They are alone in the world. Their Gandalf figure, their wise wizard, is no longer there to steer the ship, and this is very well encapsulated with Rand's breakdown immediately after it, where he goes and just kind of mourns Moraine, realizing several of his mistakes and feeling the weight of everything firmly being placed on his shoulders without Moraine having his back. Moraine is one of the most solid figures within the Wheel of Time. Her presence and weight as a character is massive, so I love seeing this whole left, and me as the reader first time through the series was just so floored by what I saw happen, and I know many readers were as well. At number 9 we have Mat versus the Golem. This creature has been haunting Mat specifically for about half the series at this point. It has killed friends of his and is responsible for Mat dealing with a whole lot more trauma than you have had to deal with without this creature, this thing of nightmares. Mat has had to look over his shoulders for so long because this creature from another age has been put on his trail. And with Mat being the only person who is even able to slightly damage this thing, it felt very fitting that he would have this final showdown. And having this brilliant trap laid for us as the readers, and having so many little things that were laid out earlier on in the series, like this dimension of just endless falling being available. I never thought to put the Golem in it, but Mat sure did, and boy, is it a great plan. I personally, first time through it as the reader, had a real fist pump moment when Mat got to tell off this thing from past ages in such a satisfying way. But on top of that, this Golem is arguably having a fate put on it worse than death, and that's oh so satisfying. And at number 8, we have a scene that is iconic. It's brought up all the time among fans, and it involves Mat as well. Mat's duel versus Galad and Gawain. We don't hate Galad or Gawain by this point. I never personally really hate Galad at all, but they are definitely pompous nobles. They are a bit uppity, and they've definitely had a lot handed to them throughout their life. And having a scene where Mat wakes up after being seriously ill and is exploring some new advantages he's been given, and going down and just handing these two their butts on a silver platter so well is beautiful. And on top of that, it really unveils a character to us who up until this point has been chained down quite a bit. Mat as a character has been dealing with possession and being this other thing occupying him. It's very disturbing. But here, he has finally returned to form, and we get to enjoy it oh so magnificently. He takes on two incredibly skilled swordsmen who are oh so fun to see put down, and he just delivers them the schoolyard butt kicking that they really need, and it's so satisfying. It's one of the most satisfying moments throughout the entire series, and it's so early on, which really makes it stand out. And that brings me to a quick point. You will see quite a few scenes mentioned further down this list from the final book A Memory of Light. And speaking of A Memory of Light, at number 7 we have Lan versus Demon Dread, with the oh so beautiful line, "I did not come here to win, I came here to kill you." There are a lot of characters technically more powerful than Lan within the series. Demon Dread, I assumed up to this point, being one of them. But Lan still is the certified badass of the Wheel of Time, and there's very, very little debating that. Here that is proven more solidly than ever when Lan single-handedly goes up against one of the strongest channelers to ever live and decapitates him completely. It's just his head rolls. The delivery of this scene has so much weight, and while there is problems with it, having Lan single-handedly ride through an enemy army, not the most practical thing when they're giant creatures, but alright. But it's one of those things where a little bit of hand-waving is allowed, because the payoff to the reader is just humongous. And the way this scene wraps up with us assuming Lan is dead but being proven wrong just adds another layer of just that's so cool on top of it. I do think it might have been slightly more cathartic for Lan to die doing something that is so aggressively crippling the Shadow, but the fact he didn't and he gets to live on with Nynaeve happily ever after, I'm not going to complain about that. And speaking of Nynaeve, we have number 6. Nynaeve breaks her block. Nynaeve is a character who is very polarizing within the fanbase. I've said that several times and I'll continue to because it's true. People either love or hate her. I believe the more you understand her real motivations as a character, the more you will love Nynaeve. And this scene for me was really a moment of growth and character payoff that had been building up for so long, and it is earned so well. For the entire series up until this point, since Nynaeve began channeling, she has been struggling with this block where she can only channel when she's angry. And here, she desperately needs to channel. She is trapped at the bottom of a body of water with rubble above her, and she must channel to get out alive. But the problem is panic is setting in. Panic and fear override her anger. She cannot channel. Her bubble of air is shrinking and there seems to be no hope. And for the first time ever in her entire life, Nynaeve accepts her fate and quits fighting. And due to this, her block fades away. Oh yeah! It's so telling for the character for so many reasons. Nynaeve is the ultimate fighter. She will never stop working for those she loves and refuses to be put down at all. But finally, we are able to see her have a human moment, accepting she can't fix this situation. While she is the ultimate healer, this is beyond her, and it's because of the block that is around her. She gives up and quits fighting. Just this once. In that moment, Nynaeve is able to evolve to, in my opinion, her truest form, accepting what is and is not on her shoulders, able to realize that she is just a human woman, but probably the strongest of them all. And from here on out as a character, we do see her put less on her own shoulders a fair bit, and she looks around her for help and sees that she is strongest as a team. It's beautiful, it's human, it's realistic, and it's earned. Her arc continues to be great from here, but for me, Nynaeve shined brightest right here, where she was willing to accept it's not all on me, and I can work with that. At number 5, we're going to go back into A Memory of Light, and we're going to have one of Perrin's finest moments. Perrin is hopping in and out of the dream world, really carrying the load of the last battle in some pretty hefty ways, getting rid of gateway blockers and running into Forsaken along the way. Balefire is thrown at Perrin here. The strongest weave in existence, something that might be one of the most overpowered magical things in fantasy ever. It erases you from existence and time, undoing your impact on the world by doing so. So if you ate an egg in the morning but are killed by Balefire, that egg will be back. It's unbelievably powerful as a weave. And Perrin realizes it's just a weave. And within the dream world, he wills Balefire out of existence, really showing that he is the king of the wolves and the wolf dream. He ascends to new heights and is just awesome. As we get into some of my all-time favorite moments here, I might just resort to grunting happy noises at times. Perrin's will has been one of his biggest blockers. It's basically his equivalent to Nynaeve's anger. While he is a very strong-willed man, he doesn't always believe in himself, and he's hesitant at times. Here we see the ultimate opposite of that. Perrin's will in himself, his realization of his own power, allows him to just nullify what is presented to us as the reader up until this point, the ultimate weapon. weapon, sealing himself as the real king of dreams. At number 4, we have something that is maybe a little bit greater than one moment and isn't entirely around one character, but to me, it's truly stunning to see the redemption of the Ashaman also within A Memory of Light. For 14 books, the Ashaman have been feared. Men who can channel are seen as a blight on the land, arguably rightfully so. We've followed men who can channel on this emotional journey of them cleansing the taint and becoming more and more respected within society, dealing with their own schisms and having, quite frankly, just a lot of problems. But here, in this moment, at the last battle where they are allowed to truly shine, they shine brighter than I think anyone could have reasonably expected, especially after this split they just dealt with within their own ranks. Rand abandoned them. He really decided to let the Black Tower decide its own fate, which at first seemed like a horrible idea. But here, without being under the shadow of the dragon, the Ashaman are allowed to shine and become a beacon of hope within humanity. They saved countless lives, and this is just perfectly exemplified when a villager comes up to Logain and thanks him. He thanks Logain for being an Ashaman and says he will send off his children to test to see if they could become some as well. Logain finally attains the glory that men foresaw for him, and it's just, I love it. I love it! And while number 4 was certainly one of the emotional highs of the series, number 3 is without question one of the saddest deaths we as readers have to deal with. Egwene is the Amarlin seat, and she is taking on the latest addition to the Forsaken. Mazrim Taim has been absolutely ravishing the battlefield, just obliterating thousands of soldiers, desperately trying to prove himself as the newest Forsaken. Egwene goes to meet him, and the world seems to be shattering as Mazrim Taim is overusing balefire to a point where reality itself is splitting. Egwene, in the heat of the moment, is able to figure out a counter to balefire, an anti-balefire that fixes so much of the damage that is done. She puts everything she has into it, finally killing Mazrim Taim after he's done so much irrevocable damage, but it takes everything from Egwene. She's put out. Unfortunately, she dies in this process because of how much is demanded from her, but it's a very believable moment from someone who's always been willing to give so much of themselves to the light, always doing and believing what is right. Egwene's ultimate sacrifice saves the day, and she is going to forever be remembered as the great Amarlin who saved the last battle as a result. I didn't predict her being the one to take down Taim, but it worked, and it was truly a crowning moment for a character arc that I didn't think would result in a death. I truly thought Egwene would be one of the new leaders after Rand died, but no. Now, there's been a pretty severe bias in this list so far for end-of-series character crowning moments, and that's because I truly believe The Wheel of Time has some of the most cathartic ending to a lot of its characters ever delivered to us as readers. They're truly mind-blowingly good, and I will forever love Brandon Sanderson for being able to deliver so many of them so effectively. But at number 2, we still have a moment that did happen within Brandon's writing, but it's certainly not the end of a character's arc, and that is Perrin's forging of Mahalanir. With obvious parallels to Thor's Mjolnir, this is Perrin's real coming to his own and choosing between the hammer and the axe, an arc he's struggled with since book like 1 or 2. He tries to find balance between man and wolf, and this symbolic forging of his hammer is a great resolution of that. It's a combination of the two, the best of both worlds. The recent death of Hopper obviously weighs extraordinarily heavy on his mind, and he's willing to give himself in the right amount to the wolves while retaining his humanity. He has faith in his ability to do both. He then takes his new weapon and goes to save the White Cloaks. A great move, something I didn't predict. The White Cloaks have been terrible to him, and so his saving them was just such a Perrin thing. Like, yeah, of course he would. I wouldn't have. I would have let them go, to be perfectly honest. I think the reason this moment resonates so strongly with me is because I just love this arc with Perrin and truly think it is beautiful to see this resolution of an emotional conflict within a so well-realized character in such a believable way. And of course, bringing in the death of Hopper to really seal it within the wolf dream so he is really dead means you're extremely emotionally vulnerable as a reader while this is happening. Like, the pupper's gone, and oh, Oh, it hurts. On top of everything I've already said, it's the first forging of a power-wrought weapon that we see within the Wheel of Time, and I had been wanting to see one throughout the entire series. They are so badass when we do get glimpses of them, and seeing one made with Aes Sedai and Ashaman together really made the moment feel weighted. It was also a showing that Aes Sedai and Ashaman can work together in this way. Dope. To me, it was the first time within the Wheel of Time where I felt like the Age of Legends was being reached again in a way, where the men and women were working together, a legendary leader was taking epic action towards a resolution, and of course the thundering storm that had been looming for a few books at this point was about to crack. In fact, to me, this moment somehow was the first ringing of the bell and the starting of the final moments of the Wheel of Time. Speaking of the final moments of the Wheel of Time, number 1. We have Rand's victory over the Dark One. This list has been surprisingly sparse in Rand moments, I'm well aware, and that's because I did really want to pull from different examples of the series, things that had different importance for various reasons, and with Rand's focus as a character being so much about just combating the shadow and becoming the man who can combat the shadow, I didn't think there was really a better moment I could pick than his final speech when he fights the Dark One. Rand's entire conflict with the Dark One is so perfectly embodied here with his final monologue. Here is your flaw, Shaitan, Lord of the Dark, Lord of Envy, Lord of Nothing. Here is why you fail. It was not about me. It's never been about me. It was about a woman, torn and beaten down, cast from her throne and made a puppet. A woman who had crawled when she had to. That woman still fought. It was about a man that loved repeatedly forsook, a man who found relevance in a world that others would have let pass them by, a man who remembered stories, and who took fool boys under his wing when the smarter move would have been to keep on walking. That man still fought. It was about a woman with a secret, a hope for the future, a woman who had hunted the truth before others could, a woman who had given her life, then had it returned. That woman still fought. It was about a man whose family was taken from him, but who stood tall in his sorrow and protected those he could. It was about a woman who refused to believe that she could not help, could not heal those who had been harmed. It was about a hero who insisted with every breath that he was anything but a hero. It was about a woman who would not bend her back while she was beaten, and who shone with a light for all who watched, including Rand. It was about them all. If there's not a better encapsulation of the message of the Wheel of Time about unity and fighting the shadow and evil in the world with everything you have, I don't know what it is, because this moment to me, it was tear-jerking when I first read it, and it still is upon the upteenth reread I've been going through. It's an amazing resolution to a conflict that spans so many books. Countless emotions are felt throughout the Wheel of Time, but this to me was the most cathartic moment in any book I have read, and it finally allowed me to be okay with the Dark One being defeated. Anyway, guys, this is just my thoughts and opinions on the top 10 moments of the Wheel of Time. I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And you guessed it, of course, I want to record my latest high-tier Patreon shout-out, Ryan Travis. Or should I say, according to what I'm seeing on Patreon, the Ryan Travis. Thank you so much for the support. Have a good one.